Hey everyone. Well, Herald of the Sun definitely needed some love, and it certainly got some attention. I did want to take a bit of time to playtest this before I provided an update because some of these changes have wider reaching effects. I do have some mixed feelings on this set of patch notes and one specific change that wasn't mentioned in the blue post. So I'll start with the developer notes, go into a top-down view of the changes, and then we'll dive into some gameplay. Let's get into it. I'm always a big fan of when developers share their thoughts. I won't read through all of it here, but their ultimate goal is to bring Herald of the Sun in alignment with Templar alongside some resource optimization for Herald of the Sun, especially during Avenging Wrath. They really want us to prioritize Hammer of Wrath for Herald of the Sun anytime you're in Avenging Wrath. The verdict is still out on tuning, but from my initial testing, our two hero talents are much closer than before. I did 2 test runs of Mysara Cavern. One is Herald of the Sun with AoE talents, including Templar Strike and Radiant Glory. The second run was Templar with AoE talents, Crusading Strikes, and Crusade. Herald came in at 63.4k and Templar at 64.1k. These are just follower dungeons, and this isn't a perfect testing scenario, but you get the general idea. They're actually quite close, even with the talent variations. Let's start by categorizing these patch notes. We'll split them into 3 sections. The first one's damage increases. These are mostly straightforward and solely focus on making Dawnlight and Sun's avatar more potent. There are some quality of life changes that should make performance of these 2 abilities more consistent. I'm still shocked to see no benefits to Templar's Verdict in the Herald of the Sun tree outside of a very small 3% bonus from Gleaming Rays. I'll also mention the increase to the 4-piece. Expurgation damage from this is fairly small, and this tier set is low impact. It's a nice quality of life for keeping the holy damage uptime. This isn't unusual for the first tier of an expansion. More often than not, tier sets are very low impact and just give a very small increase of damage. We'll take it though. The second category is mostly passive effects. These are slightly different and aren't solely just damage increases, even though that might be the outcome. For more passive effects, having Dawnlight extensions on secondary targets is fairly nice. You'll be able to extend a secondary Dawnlight to the same duration you would on a single target for the most part. Let's talk the gameplay influencing changes. These 2 changes are very interesting. I've advocated for the Quicken Invocation node being 30 seconds, and hey, we got it. This is a phenomenal change and will hopefully offer a competitive option in the future when it comes to that talent node. We don't know from a numbers standpoint how it's going to shake out, but it does feel good to have it available in AoE, especially if running Radiant Glory. It wasn't mentioned in the blue post, but Divine Toll now casts Hammer of Wrath during Avenging Wrath. It's a nice quality of life. We'll chalk it up to being more of a bug fix, but it's really nice. I do want to stress that I have no idea how this will shake out long term after we have Sims in place, but as of right now, it felt pretty good. For Templar, Divine Toll triggers Divine Hammer, and if taken, it provides more Sanctification stacks. For Herald, Divine Toll can trigger Walk into Light, and Hammer of Wrath hits harder for Herald of the Sun. Having Divine Toll on a lower cooldown, I think it adds a lot of value, and it definitely makes the spec have at least some choice in the class tree. So let's shift gears and let's talk about Walk into Light. This is the strangest talent I've ever seen. The description is slightly unclear, but in practice, if you cast a Hammer of Wrath, whether it's from Judgment or Divine Toll, if you also have an available Blade of Justice charge, it will cast both abilities at the same time. A 2-for-1 special. This does meet Blizzard's objective of wanting to prioritize Hammer of Wrath during Avenging Wrath, specifically for Herald of the Sun, and you're absolutely going to slam that ability as often as you can when you aren't spending Holy Power. In my opinion though, I think they designed themselves into a corner. Blade of Justice hits like an absolute truck. With both the Art of War resets and the Apex talent, you want that as your number 1 priority outside of spending with Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm. That is by design. The only way they could get Hammer of Wrath higher in priority without buffing it to a ridiculous value, in this case, was to make it use Blade of Justice. I'm not certain what the exact best path forward would have been for making Hammer of Wrath a higher priority, but at the very least, it could have used the damage increase. Having it use 2 abilities at once seems a little counterintuitive and definitely a first for, I believe, any WoW class. It's certainly something. I do want to highlight a few things I found out when playtesting this specifically. So Divine Toll functions identically to Hammer of Wrath during Avenging Wrath and will trigger Walk in Light. The Blade of Justice used from Walk in Light also grants Holy Power. This puts you in a situation where you have an abundance of Holy Power and then nothing, because both Judgment and Blade of Justice are on cooldown. If you're taking Templar Strikes, you can use that at any point, but if you're taking Crusading Strikes, you're going to have nothing for quite a while. So what do I think? Conceptually, I get it. I even agree with Blizzard that forcing Hammer of Wrath into a priority spot does make sense for Herald. What I don't like is that it seems to work in opposition of the core gameplay loop for Retribution. We only have one resource. It's Holy Power. It's all driven by ability cooldowns. We build, we spend, rinse and repeat. With this talent, we build, we spend, and then we can't build because both of our major builders are now on cooldown. We do have some procs that can fill the downtime, but if you don't get one of those procs, whether it be Divine Purpose, Art of War, Imperium Power, you're just stuck waiting. There have been moments where I've had up to 4 or 5 seconds of downtime between being able to press either another spender or another builder. This downtime can be entirely negated with Templar Strikes, but that does bring me to my next topic. Crusading Strikes got a stealth buff. It now only causes us to auto-attack 20% slower. It used to be a 50% reduction, and to be frank, this change has the potential to skyrocket this into being the choice again. Credit where credit is due. Blizzard did add buff tracking back to this ability, but it's still not fun to track auto-attack swings. And guess what? I, alongside many others, are going to do just that if that's the best option, for better or for worse. Also, the deeper we get into an expansion, the more stats we're going to have, and the less likely we are going to be to press our filler spells. That puts us in a position where, even if Templar Strikes and Crusading Strikes is competitive right at the beginning of an expansion, it may shift in favor one way or the other very quickly. If this is the direction Blizzard wants to head with Crusading Strikes, I beg that they let the Crusading Strike buff be a non-secret value. I'd love to be able to overlay it on our Holy Power, and it would be so much easier to read when it's displayed in this manner. So how does Herald of the Sun feel to play with these changes? Really frickin' weird. The core gameplay loop is still the same, and it does feel good to full send spenders in quick succession, but if you aren't playing Radiant Glory, the latter part of your Avenging Wrath will have dead globals, unless you get phenomenally lucky on procs. Some folks are more open to having dead globals, but I personally hate it. I always like to be pressing something. The more I've played with Quicken Invocation, the more I like it. Having the extra Holy Power on a short cooldown is quite nice for both Herald and for Templar. In addition, we do have some added benefits triggered from Divine Toll. We'll see how the numbers play out, but right now I think taking the Quickened Invocation node will likely be the better option. I did want Hammer of Wrath to do more, but this is just the wrong type of more. In my opinion, you should be rewarded for correctly managing your Holy Power expenditure, and Walk into Light specifically feels like a major step away from that. On the other hand, Templar feels even better than before with the improvements to Crusading Strikes. There's a lot less downtime, and it really allows you to focus on rotating your better builders. For example, Blade of Justice or Judgment. Your globals are just more spoken for with Templar. So what do you guys think about these changes? Do you like them? Comment below and let me know your thoughts. As always, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Retribution Paladin content. All this helps the channel grow. After we get through the holidays, it's my goal to get a more in-depth UI update out and a path forward for what add-ons I'm intending to use in Midnight. As of right now, I've been solely using Nef UI and a couple other supplementary add-ons, but I'm not sure that's going to be my final option. Either way, we've got some future beta builds to look forward to, and definitely some more Retribution changes to cover in the future. I'll see you in the next one.